Hello internet friends, this is the PiDP-11 kit. It doesn't come with the Raspberry Pi 4 or all of these cables. This is the kit. Let's assemble the kit, it will be great fun. SD card, and I didn't realize it until I'd already soldered some stuff. So I think the only thing you missed was soldering on these rotary encoders. The basic dealio with that was I had to straighten some of the pins to get it to go in the holes, and then I soldered these big terminals on the shield first. Takes a little extra heat, a little extra time heating those up, and a good bit of solder. But once those were soldered in there, I proceeded to solder the actual electrical connections. So yeah, let's continue. Sorry about that. once again, because I am a dummy, I ran out of space on my SD card and didn't realize it. But you didn't miss anything terribly exciting. We just mounted the thing in the case and plugged the Pi into it, which we'd already tested earlier, and did some other stuff that doesn't matter, fixing up this back plate and stuff. And it works. So, my impressions. First of all, it's freaking awesome. Like, freaking awesome. I do have some beefs, but I just want to make it clear that my beefs are far outweighed by the awesomeness of this thing. So, Oscar, if you're watching this, don't be offended by my beefs. Alright, so as you can see, I modified the back panel because I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4 in this thing, and I wanted to have two HDMI connectors mounted to the back panel, because I have them right here. Nice right angle connectors that face in different directions so they don't hit the top of the case, and full-size HDMI connectors to mount right into these slots. And I cut out the thing in the back of the panel, and I went to mount them in there, and lo and behold, there isn't room. Like the PiDP-11, there just isn't enough room inside of the enclosure to fit these cables. I mean, even if you bend them really hard, they don't fit. So it may actually be more difficult to extend this case than the PiDP-11 case, because I can't just buy another bamboo box and glue it onto the back. I'm going to have to actually, like, I don't know, I guess I'll try to fashion a sheet metal brake out of some angle iron and some vice grips, and try to bend an enclosure for the thing and fasten this to it. I don't have any old computer cases that are the right size to mount this to the front of. It would almost fit on that box right there, but being a tower case, then I'd have to lay it on its side, and one side wouldn't look right. The side that's the bottom right now. So we can't do that, unfortunately. But anyway, it would be pretty keen if there were more space inside of these things. But I guess Oscar has probably paid a lot of money for the molds for this, so revising that probably isn't feasible, unfortunately. I saw a thing where some people had designed some 3D printable stuff, like a case extension for these things, but I don't have a 3D printer. I probably ought to rectify that someday, so I'll have to do something more complicated. So that's my only real beef with the physical construction of the machine. Oh, yes, there is one other thing. I found it extremely difficult to line, oh, we'll get out of the way, key, to line the switches up. You can see that not all of them are quite even, and that seems to be the case with the examples that I've seen photos of on the web as well. And the issue with that is, I think, the main issue is that the switches, well, we can't see it. The switches have 3 legs on the bottom of them, and there's some kind of epoxy or resin or something that holds those legs into the back of the switch body, and it's just kind of a little cone of epoxy similar to what the solder looks like, except it's red, and it's a little bit different on every switch. On some it extends a little further than on others, and the slots that the legs go into on the PC board are fairly narrow, so the switches don't all push into the same depth. I guess it's not really possible to make the the holes for the legs to go in any larger, or they'd be very difficult to solder. But I have to wonder if do I still have the, if you know the thing that goes on the front of the switches to help try to line them up. All right, it's got a really thin section of just PC board material, right? If you had something like that, two of those little sections, skinny sections that could go down between the switch legs on the other side of the switch and kind of shim all of those switches out the same distance away from the PC board. Then when you zip tied everything together and pushed the whole assembly down into those holes, everything would bottom out on those little strips of PC board material, and the switches would all be at the same angle in the front, rather than allowing them to bottom out on that epoxy resin or whatever it is that's holding those switch legs to the switch body. I don't know, that might make assembly more complicated, but I should have thought about doing something like that before. Of course, it's too late now, and I'm probably just being anally retentive anyway. I mean, it's not bad. So this one's not very, that one right there is not very even, this one right here isn't very even, and the rest of them aren't terrible. This one's a little off, but you know, c'est la vie, I guess. So those are my only two real beefs with the physical construction of the contraption. And like I said, I think it really is an awesome contraption. I'm not trying to denigrate the machine much. Those are just my observations. Now, on the software side, I can't say that I don't know anything at all about SimH, really. The simulator that runs the PiDP-11 stuff on the Raspberry Pi. Now, the software is meant to be installed on a Raspberry Pi running Raspbian, and all the Raspbian distributions are 32-bit, ARM-HL, I think. And on Raspbian it works fine with the supplied binaries. However, I wanted to use the Pi that I've currently got squirreled away back there that I'm using for network attached storage, among other things. I wanted to put it inside of this enclosure and have my fancy blinking lights going, just to make a little cooler box. And that machine is running Devlon Beowulf ARM64, and I simply cannot get the software working on ARM64. I haven't tried any other ARM64 distributions. I probably ought to try it on Ubuntu or something like that. Devlon is basically Debian with systemd removed, and it is running ARM64 instead of ARM-HL. So I have a feeling it's an ARM64 thing. It may not be the software either. I couldn't get it to build. That's the big issue. The make files are kind of crazy. So I hate to be an ignoramus and post something about it in the PiDP-11 Google group, because I really ought to look at it more closely before I post anything, but I also don't want to redo any work that anyone else has already done to get it running on ARM64. So I guess I'll post there and see if anyone has any comments on the subject, and if nobody else has any tips for getting it running on ARM64, then I guess I'll try to rewrite the make files so they work on multiple architectures, which will be exciting because the make files are crazy. It looks like they were originally written to like cross-compile to ARM on a Windows machine or something. I'm not sure, but they're ugly, man. Ugly. So that will be a heck of a project. One that I may put off indefinitely, because you know how I am. Alright, so yeah, be interesting to try to build a case extension for this. I may just build one out of wood instead of trying to bend sheet metal, I don't know. Whenever I try to bend sheet metal, it just never comes out quite right, you know. My tooling just isn't very precise, I suppose. Being made out of junk as it is. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed this excursion into soldering fun time, and that you will join me again next time. Thanks for watching.